Good morning, boys and girls. All right, we are on to chapter 11 in Shooting the Moon, where we left off last. Jamie, the main character, she had a big feeling of responsibility because Private Hollister was kind of asking her if she could get a lay of the land about the colonel, about whether he's going to get sent to Vietnam or not. So she was clearly feeling responsible to this guy. So let's see how this goes. When I got to Cindy, she wanted to put on a ballet for me. And I said, sure. But I barely paid attention. I was so busy thinking about what I would say to the colonel. Somehow, how I had to convince him to keep Private Hollister at Fort Hood. But how do you ask the most full out army man in the army for a favor like that? My biggest obstacle was plain and simple army protocol, which of course the colonel was a stickler for. He did things a certain way, played by the army rules at all times, followed the chain of command. The rumors were true. Some bigwig over in Vietnam had decided he needed more radio operators, and some other bigwig, probably at the Pentagon, looked through his files and came up with the great idea of sending a few from the 1st Signal Troop, Fort Hood. The paperwork would be drawn up by a clerk, copied in triplicate, rubber stamped, and sent over to Fort Hood and up the chain until it reached the colonel, who would sign it unless there was an excellent reason not to. He did not mess with protocol, period. You aren't watching me. Cindy stood in front of me, hands placed on her hips. You're looking at me, but you're not watching. I know because that's what my dad does too. I was watching, really, I lied. You looked really good. I liked how you twirled around. Cindy nodded, like she agreed that she was quite a fine twirler. My mom says if I keep practicing, I could be a real ballerina. I can get real ballerina shoes with hard toes. And maybe I can take lessons over at Miss Marie's dance studio in Killeen. You want to show me some more? Cindy sat next to me on the couch. No, I'm tired out, and I'm very sad. Well, why are you sad? Because my mom told me Mark won't be home for Christmas. He's still fighting. He will still be fighting in that war. TJ won't be home for Christmas either, I said, realizing it for the first time. What would it be like to go downstairs Christmas morning by myself to see if Santa Claus, aka the Colonel, had come? What would it be like without TJ behind me, excited as a little kid, even when all Santa had left him the last few years were clothes and a new sports equipment? Do you think Santa Claus goes to Vietnam? Cindy asked. I nodded. Sure, he goes everywhere. When we lived in Germany, he came to Germany. He'll go to Vietnam too. Cindy sat up. I was born in Germany. I was born in West Berlin, West Germany, in a United States Army hospital. I was born in Berlin, Germany, but I'm still an American, so don't tell me I'm not. She elbowed me in the ribs to emphasize her point. I was born in Heidelberg, I told her, moving over a few feet so she couldn't get me again. But I'm an American too. All Army kids born in Germany are. A boy at school called me a Nazi. He said I was like Hitler. Cindy chewed on her cuticle, her eyes darting around the room. I told him he was crazy. You're so crazy it makes me hate you. That's what happened to me, I said. Kids calling me a Nazi. They think it's funny. Cindy and I looked at each other. Now, we had two things in common brothers in Vietnam and being called Nazis by jerks. It was quite a list. We're Americans, you and me, Cindy said, and clapped her right hand over her heart. We're not stupid Nazis. Not us, I agreed. We sat there quietly for a minute with a friendly feeling around us. I started wondering how complicated Cindy's thoughts got about things. She knew Mark was fighting in Vietnam, but did she know what war looked like? Was she scared he wouldn't come home or that he'd come home missing an arm or a leg? Why, I suddenly wondered, was TJ sending me pictures of soldiers missing arms and legs? Why? Why was TJ sending me these pictures? Was he trying to scare me, or was he just trying to tell me that war wasn't anything like the way we dreamed it, playing with our little green army men under the trees? I looked down at my hands and suddenly I got it. Of course, that's what TJ was trying to tell me. He was smart enough to know I wouldn't believe it if he all sent me were words. He'd had to show me with pictures. Cindy jumped up. I have a present for you. Stay right here. Imagine Cindy trapezing back into the room with some paper mache globs she'd made at art camp with her mom and taken it to her the week before. But when she returned, she was carrying Brutus. You can take him, Cindy said, because I was thinking about it. And I remember that I have something else from you to keep. I have all the moon pictures you gave me. I just don't need so many things from you. Only one or two at a time. Things of mine, yes. Then I'd pretend we're sisters and share things. I took this opportunity to study my toes and feel guilty for all the times I could have been nicer to Cindy. I felt like I could do something right then, like give Cindy a little hug or tell her I thought of us as sisters too, but it, I didn't have it hit in me, which I understood then and still understand to this day to be a sorry thing. Then Cindy smiled at me. Did you know I used to be a princess? You're not a princess anymore? She shook her head. No, I've decided I'd rather be president of the United States. You can do more things when you're president. Did you know I can be president even though I was born in Germany? It's a law that says it. Nobody can tell me I can't. They'd be stupid to try, I agreed. She sat down and leaned toward me so that her face was close to mine. She looked left, looked right, then whispered, I'm going to be president so I can make them send Mark home. My mom keeps crying. She says she's going to kill herself if he dies in that war. She said that to you? Cindy put her finger to her lip. Shh. No, she said it to Daddy when they thought I was asleep, only I was spying. She didn't even say it. She screamed it. I was very frightened. But if I was president, I wouldn't be frightened because I could bring Mark home and TJ too if you wanted me to. Sure, I said, that would be good. But the funny thing was, it almost made me feel sad to say it because I knew that if I wanted TJ home, then I had lost my good feelings about the war forever. I had lost the excitement that used to get me so wound up I could hardly calm back down again for hours. I lost the green army men under the shady trees and the thrill I felt when I imagined being an ambulance driver in a combat zone. I lost hoo-ah, and combat ready, sir. And when you got right down to it, if I lost all those things, I had practically lost my own self, which is a sad and depressing thought to have. And I would have kept having it, except Cindy handed me Brutus, the first real present TJ had ever given me. Making me learn my way around the dark room had been the second. So maybe I wasn't so lost after all. All right, that brings us to chapter 12. And on to that next time. All right, have a great day.